Mr. Stauber, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I rise today in support of my own bill, the Congressional Review Act, disapproval of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service uplisting of the northern long-eared bat. The Endangered Species Act is half-century old. Its intended use was for listing species, conserving the species, and then returning them back to responsible management. Unfortunately, like any well-meaning law, it's being abused by many activists ideologically opposed to many parts of our human progress. The true goal is not species conservation. It seems to be it's list the species, stop development, file a lawsuit, and then fundraise. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But just don't take my word for it. Take the Center for Biological Diversity's word for it. When they learned that the moose will not be listed, they were quoted in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune as saying the quiet part out loud, and I quote, "Now it's going to be a lot harder to ensure that things like mines and other habitat-destroying projects don't go forward," end quote. The northern long-eared bat's range is massive, covering more than half of the lower 48 United States. The northern long-eared bat is afflicted with white nose syndrome, a disease that has nothing to do whatsoever with human involvement. But instead of finding a solution, the Fish and Wildlife Service just catered to anti-development groups who are just seeking to stop projects and uplist the bat. And ironically, as we saw in testimony, that uplisting the bat will actually limit projects that benefit bat habitat. And uplisting the bat will also stop projects that Democrats claim to want. So let's take a second and consider the following. Are there transmission projects proposed in the northern long-eared bat's range? Yes. How about solar or wind projects? Yes. Or battery metal manufacturing or recycling plants? Yes. Let alone wildfire mitigation, road building, mining, agriculture, and more. Further, responsible forest management boosts habitat. Just the other week, certified wildlife biologist Rick Horton, a proud resident of Grand Rapids, Minnesota, testified that maternal roost tree habitat is increasing and roosting habitat is actually retained during harvest. This is a fact provided by a witness who is beyond qualified to speak to the issue. Look, white nose syndrome is clearly a problem. I would certainly be willing to work on finding a solution. Perhaps the USGS may want to work with us to find a solution, but it sounds like maybe too busy funding projects for PhD candidates in Madagascar. With that, I urge passage of this CRA. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen introduced a companion measure, and we're eager to move these bills forward. Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.